and I'm here to introduce Megan Smith, who will be speaking in just a minute about her study abroad experiences and encouraging others to do this. We highly encourage this. I've done international residencies, well, I hope maybe I was a little bit of an influence there. I have been to the pottery workshop and to Denmark, where we've also have a study abroad program. But anyway, Megan's been very ambitious and done quite a few study abroads while still an undergraduate. She's graduating this May as a senior from Heron. So please welcome Megan to her lovely presentation.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm so excited that you're all here to learn about studying abroad. I've had the incredible opportunity to study abroad 4 times as an undergrad at Heron, and I really am excited to share this with you today. I worked at my university's study abroad office for a year last year, and now I'm a really big advocate for studying abroad and sharing my experiences and having conversations with people about how they can study abroad, because every program is unique, and you'll see a lot of that. Your situation will be just the way you can make it. So my friends know me as the person that wears funky pants on Fridays, and when I was in China this last semester, I discovered I'm about as tall as a Chinese blue and white vase. As Leslie said, I study ceramics at Heron. I also have minors in book arts, art history, and French, all of which I've completed during my time at IUPUI. I've studied art history in Central Europe, French in southern France, printmaking and book arts in Venice, Italy, and most recently ceramics in Jingdezhen, China. I frequently draw inspiration and imagery from my work, from my travels, and from the photos I take, as you can see here in a print that I made this semester in my printmaking class. So what exactly is study abroad when I talk about it? My favorite way to describe it in a short few sentences is as an international educational experience. It's also all of these things. It's academic credit that you receive when you take a class, travel abroad, and you can go anywhere from 1 week to a whole academic year. It doesn't have to be just a semester abroad, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But most importantly, studying abroad is not just a vacation. And I think that's a really important thing to realize. As you're thinking about the experiences that you want to have, it might be really nice to relax on the beach in Costa Rica, but maybe not count that as a study abroad experience. So there are plenty of international experiences as alternatives to study abroad that I've listed here, and they're all really great opportunities. I'm going to be focusing on just the study abroad experience, like we said, like with a university or academic credit. That's really what we're kind of talking about today. But definitely take a look at these if you think that studying abroad can't happen. There's plenty of ways to go abroad, and any experiences, I think, are worthwhile. So when I describe study abroad, I think this is an excellent picture to share with people about what it is. This was taken in Berlin, Germany, during my art history presentation for my art history class during Central Europe. And this was a presentation on one of the city's memorials that they have. And this was us turning the city that we were studying in into a classroom. And this is really what I think is the essence of studying abroad, is taking where you're going and seeing a new place and getting to learn and experience that city while we are there. Not just in a classroom, not just in 4 walls with no windows maybe, but out in the city, walking, eating, learning, and communicating abroad. So my short pitch for study abroad is in these 4 words right here. Traveling is something that's a really fantastic experience to do when you're at college, because you don't have some of the tie-downs of life and expectations, and you really have the time to really go abroad and travel and learn that way. Learning, like I said, studying abroad is such a unique experience. There's really nothing else like it. You only really also have the time to do study abroad while you're in college, about 4 to 6 years, depending on how long you take or the kinds of education that you pursue. So you're learning about the culture, the people, the language, the country that you're studying in, but you're also learning about your own home country, whether that's here in the States or elsewhere. You learn more. Studying abroad magnifies your experiences both abroad and when you come back home, and you kind of notice all those little things that we do. And so with that, I would say you really grow. You grow as a person, you grow as an artist, as a student, as a person in this world, and you really become what we call a global citizen, where you're not just one citizenship. You have a passport to a whole world of opportunities and people and cultures to learn from. And so with that, you're investing in yourself. It's not just your education, it's not just your studio practice, you're investing in yourself. And that's why I'm a really big advocate for studying abroad, is even though there's a little bit of sticker shock that we'll talk about, it's so worth it. And as someone I'm not being paid to say this, this is just something that I really feel passionate about and think that's worth investing in. So some more drawn out reasons, as we've kind of already discussed a little bit. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Maybe if you're in high school right now, you can think about studying abroad right now before you graduate high school. As you're looking at colleges and universities, you might be able to pursue opportunities with your university there to find out what kind of programs they have on offering before you go. If you're already in college, as I hope many of you are or going to do, your university usually has a study abroad office, or it might be like an international affairs office, something along those lines. A university usually always has that. And if not, I would encourage you to talk to your academic advisor to find out how students study abroad and go abroad, because it's something that a lot of students do. And so it's worth pursuing and finding where those resources are at your individual university. You learn a lot more about the system and about like your professors and advisors as you pursue those opportunities. And it's just a fantastic way to find those ways. So when we're finding your program, like I said, you want to talk to your university study abroad office if you haven't already, or if you haven't Googled your university name plus study abroad. That's the best way to get started. I would also encourage you to talk to some of the universities here at NCECA. Just my short little research doing, there's a few universities here that I know accept students that are not enrolled in their university. So like I participated in the West Virginia University Ceramics program this last semester, and I was not a West Virginia University student, but I was able to go earn credit and transfer it back to my university. So that's another excellent way to get what we call an American transcript to transfer back to your American university while you're here. That's probably the second best way besides going through directly your university. There's also what we call US-based program providers, and those are program providers and sponsors that put on programs in different countries for specific things, and we'll talk about that a little bit, how you can use their search engines to find a program that you're interested in looking at. And if your university might even have partnerships with certain program providers to earn credit, so it's even easier. It's like a direct admission through your university to get credit for those. Another way to do this, especially I would encourage you maybe to think about this for grad school, is direct admission into international universities and colleges. If you're thinking that you want to study abroad for a little bit longer term, looking at international universities, maybe English-based, maybe not if you know another language. There's a lot of schools out there that are outside of the United States and have education and facilities that are really well put together. And so that's also another great way to find international experiences. So program providers, this is just a little short list that I put together, and they'll be, on all of this information will be on my website at the URL below, and the website will also be posted at the end of the presentation. So program providers are what I said, put on the program. They'll do the coordinating, they'll usually help you find housing or provide housing for you. They're maybe not the professors themselves, but they are the people, your point person in that country, that will help you talk through the culture, maybe the culture shock, what you need to pack, helping you enroll into the university that they'll be connected with. They're the kind of like maybe the middleman or the bridge between you and an international university, getting those credits and taking those classes. So those are program providers on the left, and then on the right are search engines that you can use if you're still looking for programs and you can't find any through university or an American University. These search engines list universities from both international and American universities that you'll find different ways and different requirements for enrollment, but are a great resource to find where you want to go. So I always am asked, when should I study abroad? Me personally, I studied abroad the summer after my sophomore year, the summer after my junior year, and then my first semester of senior year, which is a little bit of traveling and planning, but it was definitely worth making those experiences count towards my degree. I earned art history credit for both my major and minor. I earned studio credit in Central Europe and Venice, and I earned credit towards my French minor to complete in France, as well as ceramics going towards my ceramics degree. So there's plenty of ways that you can plan around like what your degree requires. This is where you would talk to your academic advisor to find out when and where and what would be best way to earn credit for your degree. One of my peers, she studied science in Japan, and it was the science and design of Japanese botanical gardens. And so she earned science credit towards her degree, but it, unconventional a little bit. So thinking a little bit outside the box while learning about studio credits and art history is amazing. And our world was built by artists and craftsmen and architects and really creative people. But getting to study that from a different perspective, sometimes really eye-opening and worth it. So thinking a little bit outside of the box that way, summers are definitely a great time to study abroad. You can still do your normal classwork during the semester, but still have the time, and maybe you won't have your summer lease or apartment. You could sublease during that time. Those are great ways to think about. My university specifically does spring break programs. So they'll do treat it like a spring break or spring semester class, and they'll do the classwork during the spring semester, and then during spring break they do the international travel portion of that. And so if you think that you might not be able to fit in a longer term program, a spring break or a winter break, if your university does J terms, great way to pursue that. I think the longer you study abroad, you get more experiences, and it's worth more of your money and time. So if you have the time and the ability to study for a semester, it's a fantastic way to do that as well. So sticker shock is so real, and I can definitely attest to the amount of money I had to pour in, and that's totally fine, and it's going to happen, and let's be a little real. So when you're looking at funding, think about, if you're thinking of a semester, think about how much you would be spending for a semester at your university. Treat it that way. When I studied abroad in China, the cost was just about the same as what I would have been spending when I was spending a semester in Indianapolis with my tuition, funding, housing, and all those fees. I spent just about the same amount, to be real. Find scholarships first. I would say that's free money that you don't have to pay back. Scholarships, grants, before you think about then your FAFSA and financial aid. You can normally use your financial aid for studying abroad. This is where you would talk to your financial aid advisor at your university to see how you can earn that credit. My university does refund checks, so if I don't have a big enough bill, they'll issue a refund check to me for the amount of money. They usually do the shuffling of the financial terms for tax purposes and things like that. But that's your money that you're earning for your financial aid. So there's many different ways to earn that financial aid. Scholarships through your university. If you do a program through another campus, So let's say I go to school at the IUPUI campus, but I do a Bloomington campus program. I can earn both IUPUI credit at Indianapolis and Bloomington scholarships. So those are two different pools of funding that I can apply for. So pursue all the different avenues. Think about the different ways that you can find funding. I'm not going to read bullet points for boring purposes. So I just finding as much funding as you can is the best way to pursue that. Talking to your financial aid advisor, academic advisor, anybody at your school would love to tell you about scholarships that you can apply for. And then keeping on top of those deadlines is the other important thing. Make sure you get your essays edited for you ahead of time. Talk to your professors or recommenders, preferably before the day it's due, and just staying on top of that, and you can usually get great funding. Some other ways that you can find funding if you're not finding it through your university or community, you can do a Kickstarter or GoFundMe. I think Kickstarters are maybe a great way to offer your art or your experiences. Maybe you send a postcard when you're abroad to somebody that donates $10 to you or something like that. And learning a little bit about crowdfunding. There's definitely ways that you can do fundraising like that. And these are also search engines for scholarships and funding that you can also find on my website. I applied for the Benjamin Gilman International Scholarship for my latest semester in China. This scholarship is funded through the U.S. State Department. You have to be eligible or receiving the Pell Grant to receive it and apply. And this is kind of the college version of the Fulbright, if anybody knows what the Fulbright is. So this is a great way to receive funding that you don't have to pay back. Generally, the scholarship supports students that wouldn't normally study abroad in demographics and ethnicities and majors and states. So if you're studying in a state that is not California or New York, you have a high chance of getting a scholarship like this because those states study abroad more frequently than, let's say, Indiana. So thinking about where you might be able to leverage your major is another way. Only 7% of students who study abroad are fine arts majors. So already as ceramic students, we have maybe a leg up on the game. So leveraging that is a great way when you're writing your scholarship essays to find funding that you normally wouldn't be able to. And the website below, and also on my website linked, is thegilmanscholarship.org, where you can learn lots more information. And so this is where I think having a conversation about studying abroad between yourselves, between your family members, between your academic advisors and peers is really important. And I think I want to encourage you to study abroad, or at least think about it. And I think if you're here today that you're already thinking about it a little bit. And I'd really like to open it up for questions now and have you guys have some input. So thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah.
I'm going to Spain this summer for about 2 weeks, and I was wondering, do you know, like, what I can do there personally to, like, find, like, ceramic artists and, like, talk to them, live.
Spain is, so the question is, how do I find ceramic artists or ceramic art when she's going to Spain, but in any country really. And ceramics is something that's really based all around what communities are based on. Spain specifically, Gaudi was a very influential architect and designer, and he used a lot of mosaics in his architecture and public works. And that might be something that you want to research depending on what city you're going to. Definitely, I mean, entering even in the city that you're going to study in and then putting ceramics behind it in a Google search is going to bring up a lot of different artists. If you want to find artists working in that city, that's another researching maybe on Instagram, Google, just finding the search engine and just researching what is there and offering. And maybe if you're not studying in Barcelona and you have the time to make a weekend trip or something, Barcelona definitely has. Yeah. So that's finding weekend trips are another great way to explore different regions. So when I was in Venice, I went to Trieste, which is right on the rim of the boot of Italy, and it's a lot more similar to Vienna, Austria, than it was to Venice, Italy, even though it was in Italy. So exploring a different region is another great way to expand what you're seeing when you're abroad and making the most of it. Yeah.
I have a question about people who have already graduated. I don't know if you already covered that. I've seen it on one slide that had on the websites.
Yeah.
I have a friend, she does substitute work. She's a potter, but she would like to do,
Studying abroad.
study abroad.
Yeah.
But she's not affiliated with them.
So with some programs, if she wants to do a traditional study abroad program, looking at different universities that offer enrollment to students that maybe aren't students at the time, or so I know just from my personal experience, West Virginia University has a ceramics semester abroad program, and you enroll as a guest student there. And so she might not need to be pursuing an undergraduate degree at the time. Another great way to do that, if she hasn't done grad school, or if you want to pursue a new graduate major, grad school is a great way to study abroad too. And often with graduate students, if there's an undergrad program affiliated with it, graduate students can get funding as a teacher's assistant TA, or somebody along the lines of that during the study abroad experience. So they get a little bit of funding towards their experience while working and still studying abroad. Yeah.
What was the university that you mentioned that took students that were already graduated?
I believe West Virginia University. I would not quote me on that 100%, but I definitely would say, as just from my experience as a non-West Virginia University student, it seems like you can enroll in the school and earn credit for that, while maybe not getting a degree. But I mean, just a plug, and then again, I'm not being like made to say this, but I think the China ceramics experience was incredible and worth it. It's 3 months intensive. I didn't need to know Chinese going into that. I learned a little bit of street talk and knowing how to say my numbers, but there are translators, and the craftsmen, some of them know English, and the city itself is just incredible, and there's nothing like it in the rest of the world, I think, just the way the community works. So West Virginia University, they have a table. I think they would love to talk your ear off on ceramics. So network here, talk to professors, talk to students. I know with the graduate program at West Virginia University, their MFA students, their first year, they study abroad for that semester, for their first semester there in China. So another great way to think about opportunities there. Yeah.
Do you have any experience with studying abroad in ceramics in South Korea?
I know there's a community of certain, I specifically don't know of a program off the top of my head. Program providers, like the list that we were talking about, they might have some. You might be able to look at universities in America. I feel like there's a university somewhere in the States that has a South Korean ceramics program. So it would maybe a summer program. I can't remember where, but I definitely would say there's experiences there that are worth pursuing. Yeah.
I actually have a commentary question. On NCECA's website, they have like places like residencies and things. If that's something that you're interested in, you can like pick a country and then put in your major, like what you want to focus on, and then like things like if you need housing or food or stuff like that, so you can really narrow down your options.
Yeah. I actually found the West Virginia University through the NCECA website opportunities. So I said I wouldn't study abroad unless it was a ceramics program in Asia, and then I stumbled upon it, and I had to do it. And it was totally worth it, and that's why I'm here today. So any other questions? Thank you guys so much for coming.